Hey guys, been a while since we've done a video, and I'm actually going to do a couple. We're going to go back through this converter runout again. I know some people may say, well, why are you doing it again? You have to understand that anytime you change anything that relates to anything that can contribute to the alignment of the torque converter, you have to recheck it. We had to crack the crankshaft, so we're dealing with a new crank. We're dealing with a different design flywheel than a flex plate we ran last year, and also too, now we're changing the drive unit, and we're switching to the billet quick drive converter drive. We're going to have this set up to run both ways, where we can either run it in lockup fashion or in non-lockup fashion. We finished last year out with a non-lockup converter that Alan Pope had done for us, and we're going to go back to that because that's where we have our most data. And then we're going to switch to a lockup here in the very near future, probably in the next few months. We're probably going to make a change over to lockup. But I've done a bunch of work to the truck. I've took over 100 pounds out of it, and went from a 4-link in the front to a 3-link. And I'll know exactly how much, but we're pretty sure that we've lost almost 150 pounds out of the truck. So that's going to be pretty exciting in itself. Plus, there's been some machining changes to some designs on the inside of the torque converter that Steve out at Quick Drive done some work on the torque converter for us, and then built us this badass billet unit. So I want to show you guys some stuff. I've already took the liberty of you heard the engine video. We cranked the engine up about a month ago, I guess, and I took the liberty of putting a dial indicator on the flex plate already and checked it, and the flex plate was good. It was within about 2 thousandths of being flat. And then I just put the torque converter here on the engine, and you can see how I kind of got it rigged up off a tab on the chassis here or whatever. And then I got my youngest daughter out there going to turn the blower for us, and I want to show you guys, this is what we got. I got lucky on the very first hit. This thing is about 4 thousandths. And remember, when you do it like this, there's a couple things you have to take into consideration. One is the crankshaft's got main bearing clearance, and there's no oil pressure on the engine right now, of course, because it ain't running. So as she turns this engine over, that crankshaft can move and vary by about 2 thousandths or so, possibly 3, depending on how much main bearing clearance you got in your engine. So this 4 thousandths that I'm going to show you on the indicator right here is probably more realistically about 1.5. If I had turn the dry sump pump and pressurize the crankcase, the number would change and it would decrease, because now the crank's being held steady by the oil pressure. As it is, there's going to be some deflection of the crankshaft in the main bearings themselves. So I want to show you what the dial indicator reads with no oil pressure. So you have to remember, when you check it, you got to take that into consideration. Okay, Kirsten, go ahead for me, please. Okay, that's good. So as you've seen, we had about 4 thousandths on the indicator, which is perfect. Anything less than 5, we're good to go. The quick drive front pumps are the best on the market, but they do want the alignment. You got to check the alignments on everything. Now what I'm going to do now, since we got the converter, we know that it's good and within acceptable range. Now I'll take you can see this old white mark I had on the converter before. I'm actually going to spray paint that again onto the flex plate, so that way when I put it together, I make sure that the torque converter goes back into those bolt holes. So like if, say this disc was off, it was out 10 thousandths. What we would do is we would take and unbolt the torque converter, we would move it to a different set of bolt holes, tighten it back up, and then recheck it again. We found in the past that it can change as much as 10 or 15 thousandths by doing nothing more than just changing the bolt hole location on the, how you orientate the converter right onto the flex plate. So I'm going to mark that, and we're going to call the converter flex plate runout. We're done with that now. And then so the next video I'm going to show is where I take the converter back off. I'm going to put the bell housing on it, and then I'm going to put the indicator, a magnetic base indicator, on the flex plate. And then I'm going to indicate the register in the bell housing itself to make sure that that is centered with the crankshaft, so we don't have an alignment issue there. And then, so then once that's done, Then the video after that, I'm going to show you guys how we do what's called stacking the converter. And that's where we're going to take and put the torque converter inside of the drive, put the drive in the truck, and then measure how much I pull it, bottom it out in the drive, and then how far I have to pull it out before it meets flush up against the flex plate. And measure that. Then we take it all back apart, take the converter apart, stack it in pieces in the drive standing upright, so we can measure that pull out and make sure that we're not blocking the return orifices or anything like that from the converter fluid back into the drive unit, or the fluid coming from the drive unit into the converter. So that's why we check what's called stacking the converter. So all right guys, well that's my revamp video on checking converter alignment. And once again, I cannot stress the importance of doing this. Always make sure you do it anytime you change anything. Here we have a different flex plate, we got a different crankshaft, and we got a converter that's been worked on. So and all turned out exemplary. Thanks Brock, Steve, guys at Quick Drive, y'all are amazing. Exemplary work. It's just amazing how those guys are the best. So that's it. I'll see y'all in my next video. It won't be long. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.